hoping to, glorify God for 9 months, and I'm kind of excited to travel the world for 9 months too.
Yeah.
But
who wouldn't?
yeah.
But you're still trying to figure out, so you don't know if ministry is your calling yet.
I think this is my calling.
Welcome to the 3D Disciples podcast, where we're working together to develop disciples who display God's love as we deploy into God's world. Join us on this journey by liking, subscribing, and following this channel. I'm your host, Hannah, and alongside us is the pastor of FBC Clarion, Jason Hunter. May Jesus help us climb to new heights. All right, so it's Hannah and Jason, and then we have an extra person on the end.
Woohoo!
Named Colton. Welcome, Colton.
Thank you.
To the 3D podcast. So Colton's on today. He's a member of FBC, or a participant member? Full member? Doesn't matter.
We claim him.
Yeah, we claim him. He'll take it. So you've been coming to FBC actually about as long as I have. We just figured that out, that your mom and I were in the same introductory FBC pastors class together. And you're about to graduate from high school. Yeah?
Hopefully,
yeah. I was about to say, are you sure your grades are good enough? Okay. So we have you on, of course. You know why, perhaps. You're
Why?
making... Go ahead.
Why?
Why we have you on? Well, your shirt is going to give some of it away. World race.
Okay.
You're good. So something that I also remembered, you actually got baptized at the same time that my husband did during the church picnic last year, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's one thing. And then we also we talked about the Philly trip on the podcast at one point.
Yep.
And Colton, you went along on that too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. How long was that trip? 3 days?
It was just a weekend, yeah.
Just a weekend?
Yeah, kind of a weekend. It was really just one day of service for us because of our travel time and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So the last year, all those things you mentioned have been kind of informative in Colton's path, I guess, over the last year and where he's getting ahead. So tonight we want to kind of talk with Colton about what's next on his plate.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to get a little more into what happened in Philadelphia real quick. Was that your first mission trip that you ever took?
Yes. Yeah.
And so did anything from that trip make you want to go on this one that you're willing to do here coming up?
I don't know. I got back and I was like, well, I feel like I should do more.
Yeah.
I don't just want to do that, but...
What did you learn from that trip, you think?
It's a very different environment than Clarion.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I really learned much. It was more labor on my part than kind of...
That's what happens when you're young.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, recently you were talking with the elders and you were kind of telling them, some of the convictions you came back from that trip with, disappointment or whatever, maybe not sharing Christ the way you were hoping to, and how that kind of impacted you a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean... Like the other group who went, they had all this time to talk to all the people and do all this and talk. And I got back and I was kind of a little mad. I was like, well, I couldn't really, if I wanted to, I couldn't have done anything. Mm-hmm. And even if I had the opportunity to, I wouldn't have known what to say. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was maybe one person all day that I could have talked to and I didn't because I didn't know what to say. Mm-hmm. So I kind of regret that a little bit, but... Mm-hmm.
It's we keep talking about this, but the Insanity of God book, you just reminded me of something that happened. The man in that book spent 6 years in Somalia, and it wasn't until the day he was leaving that he was because he was serving the people and just helping them get food and medicine and everything. The day he was leaving was the first time Jesus was actually mentioned, and he felt the same. So you're not the only missionary to ever feel that way.
Yeah, that's probably the great hurdle is, a lot of people like to serve and bridging the gap between serving and sharing Christ or telling people, here's why I'm doing what I'm doing. There's a hurdle there that needs to be overcome. Mm-hmm. And so that's a pretty common factor, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's get into what you're doing. So you're going to graduate high school. And what are you doing next after you get out?
So I'd be leaving August 31st, and I'm going to 4 countries, 2 months in each country. It's Nicaragua, South Asia, Nepal, and Eswatini. Eswatini.
I just read this
you
myself.
do pretty good with
Some
that.
country in South Africa.
It's actually a country in South Africa surrounds this country. It's a small country in the middle of South Africa.
I've seen that on a map.
Yeah, if you look at it, it's like a bullseye. It sits in the middle of South Africa. South Africa is all around it, but it's a separate country. It's a little small country in the middle of, surrounded by South Africa.
Yeah.
So, and what's the name? We haven't actually officially mentioned the name of the program that you're working on. What's the
So it's World Race Gap Year, but it's run through Adventures and Missions.
So a gap year is, what's a gap year? I mean, this is a term that I never heard.
Was it new to you?
It wasn't something that when I was in high school that was an option
or
something that I know about. But in the last year or 2, maybe 3, I've become aware of this term.
Yeah.
You know, and or maybe even 4 years ago or 3 years ago when Carly graduated, the term was like, oh. So what is a gap year?
Whenever most people aren't ready to accept real responsibilities,
Great answer.
they take their first year off before they decide to.
And everybody
get into
does something
anything.
different.
Yeah.
They like travel just try to figure yourself out, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the point of them.
So a lot of times it's a gap between high school and college, or a
The
career,
workforce.
or the workforce, or a career, or whatever. So that's why they call it the gap year. Is that year to find yourself in whatever. Yeah, that's kind of what you're hoping to accomplish by this.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping to, glorify God for 9 months, and I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm kind of excited to travel the world for 9 months too.
Yeah.
But
Who wouldn't?
yeah.
But you're still trying to figure out, so you don't know if ministry is your calling yet.
I think this is my calling. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if staying with it's my calling, but I mean, if I save one person from each country, I'd say that's more than I would have done, not doing anything and staying at home.
Awesome. Okay, so what led to your decision on wanting to go on this mission trip specifically?
I don't really know. I still don't really know what I want to do. Like once I get back from the trip, but leading up to it, I was like, well, I want to do more. I want to do something for God. I want to, just do something.
So were you just like Googling online and that's how you found World Race?
I was looking at like Christian colleges and stuff, but I didn't want to follow all the rules. As bad as that sounds, I didn't want to.
No, there are a lot. I went to a Christian school. You have to sign
Yeah.
documents.
And like I was kind of like looking at the rules for some of these, and I'm like, well, this isn't like. You don't have to be a Christian to do this. I don't see why you have to do it in college. You know what I mean? So it was like kind of like a little weird. I was just looking at all these things, and then my mom's like, I was talking to a few people about it, and yeah, I mean, missionary got brought up quite a bit, and then I just kind of like saw this, and I was like, yeah, no, I'll do that. I can give them 9 months. I'll do that. Yeah.
Did so we've had you on the podcast before for the Word of Life camp. Did that have anything to like promote like your spiritual growth towards wanting to just glorify God more?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So that was a good experience. All right.
Yeah, so that was
Go
kind
ahead,
of the
Jason.
whole start of that process, and Colton and I worked through this some. He went the Word of Life, and like you said, had some pretty dynamic changes and experience at Word of Life. Then that's came back. So that was in July. So August, that's when he came back, and it was actually, we've been talking about baptism and really committing to Christ for a while.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
And I think he came back from that. He's like, okay, I'm ready to really make the commitment. He always kind of saw that Colton's pretty sincere about his decisions, and he's like, I don't want to say yes if I don't mean it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after, I guess, his experiences, it stopped me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but,
No, you're not.
and he's like, okay, so I'm ready to make the commitment. He got baptized, and then we started talking, senior year started, and we started looking at different like the Bible Institute at Word of Life was where we started, and then looked
Yeah.
at Christian colleges and kind of started kind of down this path, and you could kind of tell like there was never a settledness, and then like when he found this, it was kind of like, this is it. Like there was a settled.
Yeah, I
like
get
this.
that.
This would be what I think I want to do.
Yeah. So literally from August 19th, which was a church picnic, I think, to August 31st, you're leaving.
August 31st,
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
So within a year, you're like, all right, send me.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Takes most of us in the pews, I don't know, forever to make that choice. I love being young. All right. So we've been talking a lot about developing as disciples on the podcast and also in church. And the other two D's are like display and deploy. So do you have any ideas about what God might teach you about displaying and deploying on this mission trip?
I'm sorry, what?
And do you have any ideas so display and deploy are like kind of the lighthouse and the boots of like our relationship with Christ, like how we take our message to other people, how we be Jesus in the world. So what do you think this mission trip is going to teach you about doing those things?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm deploying if I'm physically going out, but
Yeah.
with displaying, I'm hoping I get confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Not really my faith, but talking about my faith out like publicly and out loud to people I don't know. And because, there's people you see every day and you kind of want to like talk to them and you're like, no. And I mean, I wish I could just kind of bite that bullet. And I feel like on this trip, I won't have an option. It's easy to talk to people whenever you're never going to see them again, as bad as that sounds. And it's easy to talk to people you don't know. And I'm hoping that just kind of, once I get back, I can, that just gives me the confidence to kind of do everything.
Yeah, it's easy to talk to people when you stand out like a sore thumb, like a 6'2" white male and amongst a bunch of shorter,
Single,
dark
attractive, available.
like some of the countries you're going to, it's going to be obvious. Like, here's an American
Yeah.
compared to what are you here for?
Yeah.
Kind of.
And I can concur with your statement of like, it will be almost easier when you're out there because like I did, when I got out of college, I did a gap summer out of college, didn't go straight into work. And, my whole point of me doing what I did was to share Christ. And so when you go out with that like mission in mind and this like set period of time, it does seem more like at the forefront of your mind all the time, and you do make it like your mission. So I can see why they're called missionaries, because they have a mission and that's kind of the point of what you're doing. So I have a question. Do you know of anyone else that's going on the trip at all? Have you met anybody yet?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've never even met anybody who's done World Race before.
No, they have like a WhatsApp group chat where everyone's joined and they're all talking to each other, but I don't know. I think I might just show up and just figure it out once I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really want to know.
Yeah, we were talking before. He will be a member of a team. So there's a group. World Race. They were like 3 different tracks, like different sets of countries you could go to, and so on this track, he was telling me 24 people have kind of signed up right now, and hopefully half of them or more will actually make it to the race or whatever. But so he'll be a member of a team. He won't be out there lone ranger in it by himself. So that's good.
Yeah. I mean, that puts another thought in my mind. Did you have to go through a lot of hurdles to be able to get out and here, like get a passport, do any kind of medical work, anything like that yet? Or is that coming up?
No, the only like medical thing is I need the yellow fever vaccine and I need malaria pills that I just take orally. But yeah, I need a passport. But
have you got that yet?
No.
Oh,
actually.
no.
I get paid Friday.
Yeah.
I went to get it and I couldn't afford it. So
Yeah.
I had to wait for the paycheck.
The fundraising is another hurdle that he has to overcome. So
Yeah.
he actually has to raise his own funds, and so he's endeavoring to do that. And world travel is not cheap.
No, at all.
No, they take care of most of it.
Yeah.
Like, they do almost everything. But
But you're having to raise all the money.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is what, while we're talking about that, why not we discuss what is a way that people can donate towards your financial needs for the missionary trip?
I mean, I have a website
Okay,
that
go
goes
ahead.
straight to the foundation, goes straight to like the organization, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of like flow it into me
Mm-hmm.
while I'm through them.
Okay.
We'll get Brianna to put a link on the
Yeah.
on the bottom of this podcast, and so it goes straight through World Race,
Right. Yeah.
and it's a tax deductible donation to help support the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I overheard that you were talking to my husband about something about a cow. What is that? Or is that not a thing?
Oh, no, it is.
Okay.
So we live in kind of a little weird area. People want to buy half a cow. So me and Jason were thinking we could maybe raffle off half a cow for like $20 a ticket.
Okay.
See how many tickets we sell, and because I've talked to quite a few people about fundraising who aren't missionaries but have just like fundraised.
Yeah.
And my one science teacher was like, her husband went to like Australia to play in like the Pro Bowl or something, and he like afforded all of it by raffling off half a cow. She's like, you should do that, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I got to thinking, I was like, oh no, it actually is probably pretty profitable there.
So you need a cow. You need someone to donate a cow.
We actually were working on that. We know
Okay.
so we have a contact that knows some Christian folks, so you can pray about the cow.
Okay. Or consider buying a raffle ticket. Okay.
Or about to buy a ref. Well, it's the other. So we do live in a pretty rural part of the nation,
Yeah.
and it's very independent. And so a lot of organizations, like all around the country, has to do fundraising. Volunteer fire departments and all those kind of things have to raise their funds. And there seems to be two go-to things in our area. One is raffling off a cow. The other one's raffling off guns. so
Yeah,
so
guns are big.
we thought the cow was the better way to go.
And how much money do you need? Do you know?
For the total of the trip, or
Yeah.
for a cow?
For the total of the trip. Yeah, yeah.
17,500.
Oh boy. Okay. So,
Yeah.
listeners, let's help out. Help Colton out here. Is there any other ideas that we should mention?
That's
raising?
that's it for right now.
Okay.
Pass it. If you listen to the podcast, pass it on to some people so they can hear it and
Yeah, absolutely.
get coverage. We'd appreciate that.
Share the
Of the
podcast.
places you're going, which one are you looking forward to the most? I think you should tell that story. I know this question, but
100% Nepal. Yeah.
I've always wanted to go there too because it's right on the Himalayas. Is it because of the mountains or what about it?
Yeah, well, they have Mount Everest, like that. So they have that huge mountain range there. There's like a ton of remote villages all through there. And so what we're doing is we're going to be like backpacking across the mountain ranges and like sleeping out in tents, going to these
Yeah.
remote villages that there's no roads to or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
We're going to be telling them about the gospel and giving them Bibles and like preaching to them. And then we just kind of pack up for a week, spend the night in the mountains, and go to another town. And
Yeah.
I'm so excited to do that.
You know how much money like people pay just to like go on a backpacking trip to like that, and you're going for fun, not for fun. No,
Yeah.
you're going for the glory of God. But
yeah, but
It's all part of it.
That of all of them, so every country has a kind of a different. There'll be something different done in each country.
like the transportation's different, the style.
Well,
and-
even the ministries.
Yeah,
So
okay.
like, which one? There's one he's probably doing sports ministry in. Which one are you?
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua, they'll be doing sports ministry, so reaching out to kids, playing what we would call soccer, they'd call football, and doing that kind of stuff. And in Southeast Asia, you might be doing some work with human trafficking, right? And
Yeah, that's what the website said.
and
so you know very
it's-
little too, so you're stepping out in faith big time.
Yeah, well, part of that training, he has to go to a training, and he'll learn more details when he gets there about what they're doing. But yeah, that one to break new territory is pretty cool.
Yeah, have you ever been backpacking before?
I was a Boy Scout for a few years.
Yeah.
If that counts.
I would highly recommend doing some training. Yeah.
I'll be all right. I did cross country.
Because those packs get heavy and you do it all weeks on end. And yeah. All right. So are you going back to that, your idea of backpacking everything? Are there any comforts that you think are going to be challenging to be away from, like family separation or like American culture, cell phone?
No, not a cell phone at all. That's not going to bother me one bit. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about it. Like the longest I've been away from like anyone I've known was, I think, 2 weeks. But if I just don't think about it, once I'm there, I don't have an option, and I'm kind of locked in. So I'm not thinking about. I'm not letting myself doubt, what's happening too much. Although I was like the other night I was kind of eating, and I was like, wow, I'm not going to have my mom's food for 9 months. like just little stuff like that you kind of think about, and you're like, oh wow, but.
Yeah, restrooms use is probably going to be a lot different.
Showers,
amount of showers you're going to take.
Showering once a week, yeah.
Yeah, all that's going to be different. But you sound like you have the right mentality of going into it, just accepting whatever it's going to be. So, yeah. So does any of your unbelieving friends or family, or even maybe your believing friends and family, think you're a little bit crazy? And how are you dealing with that if they are?
I mean, yeah, there's a few. There's only one. Like my uncle really doesn't want me to do it because he was a Marine, so he's seen things, and he's like, I don't want you to go. I don't I trust him, like his opinion. I value that. But everyone else, I'm kind of like, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. This is. I feel like I'm called to do this. I'm gonna do this. And, most of them are jealous, actually. Yeah. Whether they're jealous because I'm willing to do it in my faith, or whether they're jealous just because
of the travel and everything. Yeah.
Most people are jealous, but very few people actually discourage me from it. I have a lot more people, even people who aren't religious in my life. I have a lot of them all like supporting me, saying they'll donate to me and stuff. So.
That's cool. How can people learn more or get updates while you're away?
So they do mandatory vlogs where I'm at. So I'm going to be, I think once a week I'll be uploading a vlog.
Will it be like on a YouTube channel or like through the adventure missions?
They have a YouTube channel, but on my webpage, like my fundraising webpage, it's all going to be posted there.
Yeah.
So you can, whenever you go to, like, I can raise money while I'm on the trip. If I don't raise it all before, I'd prefer it all before, but, So
you can still keep raising during too. So we'll get to see you playing soccer potentially.
Oh, I hope not. No, I have
you're
no
not
idea
a good
how
soccer
to play
player?
soccer. I don't know what I'm doing.
Maybe another thing
We'll make
to
you the
work on.
goalie. You just stand there and hold your arms out.
Yeah, I can catch a ball. Maybe I could be the goalie.
I'm not very foot coordinated either. That was never my thing. So we'll get to see like maybe some of the villages that you're going to in Nepal, and get a shot of maybe Mount Everest in the background or something. That's cool. We can kind of go with you on the journey. Jason?
Yeah, well, I ask this question quite often. I think it's really important to hear people, your motivation for going. Why do you feel like this is something you should do or want to do? Or when you think about the cost it's going to cost you personally, being away 9 months, there's some benefits to that, but there's some serious costs that you're going to face. And why are you willing to pay those costs?
So I remember talking to my mom the one time just about my future, and I was like, well, no matter what I do, I don't feel like I'm ever going to do enough. I don't know if I'll ever really be satisfied, because she's like, well, that's whenever a lot of people go into missions. And I kind of started to think about it, and I was like, yeah, well, she's right. This seems very fulfilling. And a big part of it in my thought process before doing this is, I mean, I'm 18 and God's given me everything I've ever had in my life. Like I could be born in any of these countries where, like, I think it's Nicaragua. I think a quarter of the children are starving. Like I could be born there, or I could be born anywhere, and he's given me everything I had, for 18 years. So I should be able to give him at least 9 months of, that's a big part of it.
That's an awesome way of looking at it.
Yeah,
I never thought about that.
Yeah, there's a verse in there that talks about counting the cost of following Christ, and that's a statement that he's pretty much made from the get go, and I see that as his counting the cost kind of idea. Is there's
it's like how much he's given you, and you're just given like pennies
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
In your eyes. Yeah. That you're. Oh, I thought of a question, but I lost it. What was it?
So I'll ask one while she's thinking. So if you, obviously you can't, you're kind of trying to search for a future and all that kind of stuff, and you don't know what you don't know, but if you could dream, here's one thing I'd like to come away from this with, what I'm hoping to find out there. You have any ideas what you'd just like to maybe discover about yourself, discover about the Lord, discover about the world, all three?
So part of me kind of wants me to be called to one of these countries and stay there a little bit. And then the other part of me is horrified, and I'm like, please don't make that my calling. I'm afraid to don't. But then the other part of me is like, if you do, I'll be okay with it. But yeah, no, I'm kind of afraid of that being it. But
right.
I don't know. It's like
that's probably one of your
60-40.
mom's fears too.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm happy with this. Another thing you've talked about often too that I think that's really important is that there's all kind of different lengths of mission trips, and you had a very particular reason for choosing something of this length, and what was that?
Yeah, so whenever I started looking into doing missionary, I was looking at a lot of short term, and I didn't really want to be there just long enough to get in someone's way and not make a difference. As bad as that sounds, I found out a lot of long-term missionaries feel that way about people who kind of just take the week-longs. They kind of show up and they kind of take a vacation and they leave before they actually do anything, if that makes sense.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that. But I also wasn't willing to go anywhere for 4 years,
Right.
at least right off the bat. And I kind of wanted to split it down the middle, and I found this. I was like, that's probably the best I'm gonna get.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot of times in our mission plan and some of the endeavors that we're doing and we've done in the church, and even the work we did in Philly. We did the work we did, like we said earlier. We were there for a day, really, one full day of service. But the work we did through a local congregation, a local church, or a local ministry. We were actually working through a ministry that's a boxing ministry right there in the Kensington Avenue area, and called The Rock. And we were working through them to do our ministry because the term we use is we don't want to parachute in and parachute out. We show up for a day, we give you a Bible, we give you a shower, we give you some food, and then tomorrow we're gone.
Yeah, they call that helicopter missions.
I was,
because I originally went to school at a Christian college for international relations, kind of, and it was mainly missionary focused, and that was the first thing they brought up was you don't want to do the drop in, drop out unless you're connecting with something that's going to continue what you started or has been doing what you were.
And so for him to figure that out kind of on his own, that you need to be, because he'll be 2 months in each one of these countries is what it is. Yeah. So you got 4 countries, 2 months in each country. That's time. So
if you don't like one, you have time to get out.
Yeah, that's time to build relationships. That's time enough to be challenged. That's time enough for the new to wear off and start to feel the weight. You'll be there long enough to feel the weight of what life is like there. When I went to Africa, I was there for a month, and after the first week, it was fun. It's great. After a month of being in Africa, and you've seen the same thing every day, you see the weight of it, and you feel like how difficult it is to live in those countries, and that does make a difference. It's smart. That's a smart way to do it.
I did think of my question. Do you have anybody who's ever been a missionary in your family, or are close with any missionaries to know what you're getting into? Or
I mean, I talked to Jason quite a bit, but I mean, he's more of a pastor.
Yeah.
But no one in my family's ever done
so you're the first one to step out in this way. That's really cool. Because I'm more of I want to be prepared and I want to know what I'm getting myself into. And so I'm just asking everybody everything. I love it.
Yeah. Colton's much more the footloose and fancy free. Impulsive. Let's do it.
Yeah. I love it.
Jump first, ask questions later.
I'm sure that will pay him well, though, in many regards, many regards. So we can check out the vlog, figure out more about what you're doing when you're out there, starting in September, probably at that point, I'm sure. Make sure you take some vlogs of how you get through all of the passport checkpoints points.
I might.
could be interesting.
Yeah, because those will be fun. Actually, I don't think you're allowed to have your camera out when you're. Have you ever flown internationally before? Oh no, you wouldn't because you don't have a passport.
Have you
I
ever
went
flown?
to SeaWorld in Canada.
Yeah.
But I just drove in a car.
Yeah.
Have you ever flown?
Yeah, have you ever flown?
I went
anywhere?
to Florida, yeah.
Okay. So you know what you're getting into. But yeah, flying internationally is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just like putting doubts in your mind. I'm sorry. I'm just going to stop.
You're fine.
So that'll be, so we can check out your blogs. We can donate. The website will be on the podcast link description somewhere. And
pray. Lots of prayer.
Yes.
For mom, for dad,
Yeah.
and for Colton.
yeah. And you have siblings too, right?
Yeah, I have an older brother.
Yeah. Is he, what does he say to you about what you're about to do? Nothing.
I don't know. No.
Yeah.
At one point, I was kind of picking on him. I was like, "You should come with me." He's like, "What is wrong with you?" No.
So he's out of high school then. So he's already like,
Yeah.
did he do a gap year of any kind or no? He went straight into something.
He went straight into as a welder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you really are the first in your family to just step out. That's awesome. What else do we got? Vlog,
That's about it.
donations, World Race. To Brianna, can you put a link to that too? World Race and what that's, because I think we talked about how they've been doing this for almost 13 years. They've been sending like young adults out to do these kind of trips.
Yeah, I know their YouTube videos. I think they go back. I think 12 was the oldest one.
2012 was like
just like 12
Oh,
years
12
ago.
years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, that would have been the same math.
Yeah.
That works out perfectly. So you've watched a lot of those YouTube videos, and that's kind of what's gotten you excited about going on some of these? Like, have you seen other people's vlogs, like them being in Nepal or them being...
I've saw a few other people's blogs, but most of the videos on their YouTube channel are just like 2 minutes, like things, because I want to actually see like what it was like there. And the 2 minutes, it was just kind of action-packed fun, and I'm like, well, I don't want that. I want to know what it's like. And I found about 3 or 4 that are like 15 minutes, and they're like actually going through their whole day, and it still looks amazing. So,
Okay, so prayer, blog, donations, cow raffle tickets.
Yep.
And the amount of growth that Colton has had has been just astounding. I mean, I just wanted to let you know that my husband, who's also one of your youth leaders, just said that the growth that he's seen with you in the last year of kind of like, he said he would come up to you in church or your family and you just kind of stand off to the side, but now you're much more engaging and, just much more open about your faith and your interest. And I'm so curious to see what you're like when you get back. If you come back, we'll see what...
And we have a follow-up podcast.
Yeah. Okay, well, again, thank you so much, Colton, for coming on, and we really appreciate and wish you all the best, and we will be praying for you 100%.
Oh, another thing.
Yeah.
If you're doing like the math and you're like, well, 2 months in each country, there's 2 weeks of training before and after.
Yeah.
Well, I like a week to a month before, depending. On how long it takes us, and then it's a week's debrief after.
Yeah.
Because apparently they had problems with people coming back to America after the trips, and like their mental health was plummeting after that. So
because you're on this high.
Yeah. So they learned you have to do a debrief, but yeah,
that's the 9
where
months.
the extra month comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. Somebody's probably listening. Like, how does that work? Yeah. Okay. So debriefing. So will that start August 31st then? The training kind of.
I go to Gainesville, Georgia, August 31st.
Okay. Well, again.
Get back May 14th, maybe.
Of 25. Of 25.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, 2025 already.
Yeah, that's crazy when you start thinking about that.
Well, I'm sure your presence will be missed here while it's gone. But yeah, we're really looking forward to see what God does through you and what you're willing to do. And it's amazing that you're willing to be a disciple at this age. And I think FBC is very supportive of like all age groups just going out and deploying and displaying. And you're a great example of what a 3D disciple is.
Amen. Thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast. Our prayer is that you've heard something today that will help you be a better disciple of Jesus Christ. We also want to encourage you to make sure you take your next step in your discipleship journey by considering what it is you would do about what you heard today, and then Go and do it. Finally, we want to invite you to join us at 10:30 on Sundays, either at our Main Street campus in downtown Clarion between Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's, or online at fbcclarion.com. God bless.